Hello, Year 7. Mr. Holmes coming to you from Oxford Spires Academy, and a quick video to explain and make sure everybody understands the very important task of finalizing your project research topics for your top card project. This video will discuss topic choice, what we mean by the card name and the card name property, the all-important statistics, what we mean by a statistic heading, and finally, what we expect from you when using Edmodo. When choosing your topic, it's important to remember what the aim of the project ultimately is. The aim is to create 10 of your own top trump cards. While you can choose any topic that you like, it's important to remember what your topic must allow you to do. Firstly, your topic choice must allow you to be able to name each of your 10 cards. Your choice must also allow you to find an image for each of your 10 cards. And most importantly, it must allow you to find 3 sets of statistics or stats for each of your 10 cards. It is these three statistics, however, that really will be driving your final topic choice. Because as you will have discovered, some topics it is very easy to find good statistics for your topic, and for others, even though the topic might seem a good choice in the beginning, as you progress and do the research, you discover it is really difficult, if not impossible, to find meaningful data or statistics for your topic choice. At a first look, you might be forgiven for thinking that a topic such as dog breeds is a really good topic for this project. But when we look into it a bit more closely as to what the statistics mean and how good they are, it turns out that it is quite a difficult topic indeed to try and complete this project on. As you will see in a minute, while we can argue for the age being a good and meaningful statistic, the height of the dog most definitely turns out to be not really appropriate. On the other hand, while the maximum weight of the dog could be argued as being meaningful in some respects, it tends to be rather on shaky ground as well. To understand why this is so, we need to look at an actual example of 2 cards being played off against each other in a game of top cards. So here we have 2 cards, one for a Dachshund and one for a German Shepherd. The player holding the Dachshund card would clearly play maximum age in years as the field to win the card game. 15 clearly is a better year score than 14 for the German Shepherd. Notice also that the data for the maximum age for both the Dachshund and the German Shepherd are in fact simple numbers. To be precise, they are a single simple number, such that even the computer, which we will use at a later stage in the project, could make the decision as to who the winner for this particular game would be. Thinking about this more clearly, you begin to realize that this statistic is based in fact. It is not an opinion. It is something that was researched and discovered on the internet, and it is something that has been documented over a number of years by dog breeders. As already discussed, the data part of this statistic has been expressed as a single number. This means if you have chosen a statistic that has a range of values, you need to do something to turn it into a single number, like average them out, count them up, or use the maximum or minimum value. Also, thinking about it, with the particular cards that we have in hand at the moment, there's a very clear winner. It doesn't require explanation. Quite clearly, the dog that lives the longest is superior to the one that doesn't. This too is a normal rule of the top trumps game, that the largest number should always win. While you don't have to keep to this rule for this particular project, it certainly makes life a lot easier if you do think about choosing stats where the maximum value is clearly the winner. Hand in hand with there being a clear winner comes the idea that the statistic must make sense. Thinking about it, a dog that lives longer clearly wins because it means that it lives longer. Suppose now the situation is reversed and we're now playing as the German Shepherd card. The obvious choice would be to play the max shoulder height category. So if we now continue and apply the same thought process that we did with max age to the max shoulder height, which is measured in inches, let's see if we come up with the same sort of conclusions. Is the statistic of the shoulder height based on fact? And the answer is yes, it is. It came from the same website we got the age from. Is the statistic data expressed as or written as a single number? Well, 26 versus 19, so yes it is. Okay, so max shoulder height has passed to the first two tests. It's a fact and it's based on a single number. What about there being a clear winner? While it is true that the Shepherd has a shoulder height of 26 inches, which is better or bigger rather than the Dachshund, there's alarm bells that should start going to go off in your head. You should be asking questions like, why should a taller dog win over a shorter one? Does this make sense? Which brings us to our last test question. Does it make sense that a shorter dog, does it make sense in the context of in against playing a game of top cards? Or is it one of those situations where you have facts and statistics and you actually look at the result and you kind of think, so what? So what if the Shepherd is taller than the Dachshund? It doesn't, in my opinion, we now get into the whole realm of opinion, there's now doubt as to whether we have a clear-cut winner. So both these two things are, is there a clear winner and does it make sense, and is it a so what idea, kind of all go together. And this is the test at the end that is going to decide whether you have a good statistic, a good stat or not. And normally it's these last two. Is there a clear winner, or does it make sense, or is it a so what idea that will help you decide whether you have a good stat or not. So, to make it absolutely clear, we've come up with the following 4 success criteria for a acceptable stat or a good statistic in the context of the top card game. Firstly, your stat must be based on fact. It cannot be based on opinion. Secondly, the data that you are recording for your statistic should be something you can record as a simple single number. It doesn't mean it has to be a whole number. It can involve fractions like money or 3.75 if you're talking about some sort of average. That's fine, but the computer must be able to compare it, so it must be a simple or single rather number. There must be a clear winner, and tied in with that idea, the winner or the statistic must make sense in the context that we have a very clear-cut winner and there's no doubt who has won the game. Returning to our top card with dogs example, let's think about and test the group statistic. The Dachshund falls into a category of dogs known as hounds, whereas the German Shepherd falls into a category known as herding dog. This is all very interesting, but let's do our 4-point test to see if it's a good statistic. So, thinking now about the group statistic. Is it based on fact? Yes, it is. Is it a simple number so the computer can compare it? Answer, no. So, going back to the example, the group statistic would be a an incorrect choice because it fails the is it a simple number test. The max shoulder height property or category also fails as a statistic because it fails the so what or is there a clear winner test. This now brings us to the topic of statistic headings. Suppose I was doing the topic cars, and one of the statistics I had chosen was maximum boot space. Right, that is a description. This is an English description of what it actually means. We want to shorten this and do two things. One, we need to get it down to a single word with no spaces. And if we can contract it in some way that it still makes sense, that's a good thing. This is because computers do not deal well with spaces in names as a rule. So when we're talking about the statistic headings, we want to write it as a single word with no spaces. So I would change this to max boot space. Also notice that as in the previous examples, where it was relevant, we've written a unit of measurement in brackets after the statistic heading or description property. So returning to our boot space example, this might be measured in liters, for example, and so that is how I would write it. So in general, I want to see, do you understand that computers do not work well with spaces? So you can write your statistic heading as a single word with no spaces. Notice that we can still make it readable by capitalizing the first letter of each of the words in the title. You actually did this as well when you signed up to Edmodo. You typed in capital OSA and then your first name and surname, all as one word, and you capitalized the first letter of your first name and your second name or your surname, for that matter. Also, you should be able to explain and that you understand what units the statistic is measured in, and you can do that by putting it in brackets after your statistic heading. So in this example, max boot space is measured in liters. Two other quick examples. Let's suppose I'm doing football. I could be talking about the cost of the player, which would be measured in pounds. So as a statistic heading, I would write that as cost of player. We have capitalized the first letter of each word, so it's capital C, capital O, capital P, and in brackets afterwards I've put the unit pounds, and I've written it out in words. I suppose I could write GB pounds as well, that would also be correct. So it's pounds sterling, in other words, just to make sure that there's no doubt about it. The second example is, let's suppose I'm doing some form of athletes, maybe Olympic athletes, number of medals won, so that I could write as my statistic heading as medals won, where I've capitalized the M and the W, and in this case, because it's just a pure number, I do not need to put a unit in brackets after it. If you wanted to write in brackets number or something like that, you can, but I think if it's clear that it's just, if there's no units, it's just a normal number, then I think it's quite acceptable to just leave it just as the heading itself. The final discussion point before moving on to Edmodo is to sort out a very confused idea that many students have with what we mean by the card name property. So if I was doing cars as my topic, for example, you could give me examples of specific cars, the specific cars that we are talking about could be something like Ford, Volvo, or BMW. Those are examples of specific cars. They are not. They are names of specific cars. They are, however, not the name property. When we're talking about the name property, I'm more interested in the idea. So, if I was to actually list these names in a table, the answer that I'm wanting is, what heading would I put on at the top of this table? Well, in this case, it would probably be the car make. It could be the car model, something of that nature. Or we could talk about the brand of the car. So it's the brand, the make, or the model. That is the card name property. It is the title I would put at the top of my column. It's not an example of a specific car. So I'm not talking about Ford, Volvo, BMW. I'm talking about what are all those things. What is the idea behind all of Ford, Volvo, and BMW? They are the brands or the makes of the car. Edmodo is going to be a very important part of this project as well. This is where Mr. Dixon and I will require that you express your ideas clearly and then comment on each other's ideas and give each other meaningful feedback. So the first thing that you are required to do for this project in Edmodo is to post your final topic choice. And an example of what you should do is something like this. We'll start by choosing the final topic. So you might say something like, my final topic is, let's suppose you are going to say sports cars. Right, the next thing you'd need to tell everybody in the same post is my name property is, and in this case you would say brand of car or make of car. You would not say BMW, Porsche, Lamborghini, whichever one is your favorite car. We're talking again, remember, we're talking about the idea of what are you going to use as the idea or the label at the top of the column for all the cars you're going to be talking about. The next thing we'd like to see, or that you should put in, are your three statistics, which we can just call stat 1, stat 2, and stat 3. And you should express or write your statistics down as their heading, as their stat heading format, as well as listing the units that you might be measuring them in. So for example, you might go with speed, and that, let's capitalize the first, let's capitalize the first letter, and speed would be measured probably in miles per hour. Thinking about it, it's probably going to be more exact. It needs to be more exact. It's going to be probably mean top speed. Right, stat 2 could be max boot space, and that's measured in liters, for example. And stat 3 could be price of car measured in pounds, Great British pounds. I'm going to put GB after it. Alright, so that would be an example of an Edmodo post for your final topic. Right, here's an example post by somebody. My topic is football player stats. Okay, that's fair enough. My property name is stats. Okay, don't know that's quite right. Statistic 1, running speed in miles per hour. Okay, as a concept it's right, but they haven't written it down right. They haven't written in statistic heading format. I'm sorry, wrong slide. Um, price of player in pounds. Okay, the idea is right, but how they've expressed it is not quite right. And then games played as a number. That as well is good as an idea. So the sort of posts, that is an example of a post that I probably would like. I would like that post because it is almost right, or pretty near almost there. But as discussed, it's not completely right. So this is where everybody should be commenting on each other's work. You should be commenting on at least 3 or 4 other people who've posted. And an appropriate reply post would be something like, check your name properties. Should this not be the player's name? So again, helpful advice as to what they need to fix. Say what your stats will be as a single word. For example, running speed in one word. And we also could say things like all 4 your statistics pass all 4 the tests, because they do. They're good as far as the 4 tests go. All right. So once you have posted your final topic choice, your final together with the name property and your 3 statistics written as statistic headings with the units and brackets, you should be commenting, as I said again, on 2 or 3 other people's work. And so coming back to Edmodo at some other point in time, hopefully 2 or 3 people should have commented on your final post, on your posting for your final topic choice. And if you had some errors, you might then want at this point to fix it. So you don't need to, in fact, you shouldn't be reposting it again. What you can do is you go to your original post, and at the top right hand corner there's a little drop down list, little drop arrow, and when you click that arrow, the little drop down list comes up, and from the menu you select edit post, and then you can go in and change your post so it will update the post that you had. It will not, however, repost. It will not post it as a separate new conversation, as it were. So that's how you should go about correcting your work, is by editing your posts. The other expectation that we have is that you use the liking system, the likes. You should like a post if their topic choice is good and their stats are correct. They might have some minor issues as to what they've expressed, but you can give them advice through giving them good feedback. Also go through and read what people have written, and you can also like someone's reply if they've written a really good reply. By doing so, you're showing that you understand not only your topic, but you understand somebody else's topic, and you understand what makes it that person has got the concept of the project in terms of the research topic and statistic choice right, and you're demonstrating that you can think at a much higher level than just worrying about your own work. And that's it. So that is in a nutshell, the final topic choice for the Top Cards project. Make use of Edmodo. Think about your topics carefully. Choose statistics that are meaningful, that pass the 4 tests, and importantly that you can find the data about. It's better to choose a less interesting topic, but one that's will allow you to find good data and statistics quite easily, than one that is dramatically interesting, but you then find you can't find any meaningful data for your project. Happy researching, happy posting. That's all for now.